Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered, why do some people look perfectly healthy, and then suddenly collapse? They don't smoke. They walk every day. They eat healthily, even play golf every week. But then one morning, they don't wake up anymore. This happened to someone I deeply cared about, and it completely changed the way I view aging. I still remember that morning, the day everything inside me seemed to crumble. I was making coffee when the phone rang. It was Linda, my close neighbor for over 20 years. Her voice was shaky, almost a whisper. "Frank is gone this morning, in his sleep." I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. Frank, the 68-year-old man who had helped me carry cement bags for home repairs just weeks ago. The one who always laughed and joked whenever we gathered on weekends. He didn't smoke. No alcohol. He even drank green smoothies every morning. And just like that, it was over. Just like that. At the funeral, people whispered the familiar line. "At least he passed peacefully." But I couldn't comfort myself with that phrase. Because Frank shouldn't have gone so early. There was something silently killing him, and no one realized it. I started looking into it. At first, it was just out of curiosity. But the more I read and asked doctors, the more scared I became. Not because of a specific illness, but because of an invisible enemy silently stalking most of us, those of us over 50, that we barely pay attention to. I call it the silent killer. And the scariest part? It doesn't strike suddenly. It comes little by little. You won't feel pain. You won't feel tired. You won't get any clear warnings. You just notice that you're getting more irritable, sleeping less, or feeling a dull ache in your back, shoulders, and neck without knowing why. You blame it on age. The weather. The pillow. But sometimes, it's not age. It's chronic stress, the most silent killer of aging. Frank wasn't the only one I knew who was slowly killed by stress without realizing it. I remember my mother, a strong, resilient woman who lived alone after my father passed away early. She survived the war, raised 4 children, and always said, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." Until one day, she had a mild stroke. No history of heart disease. No diabetes. But her blood pressure was frighteningly high, and she didn't even know it. The doctor asked if she ever felt stressed. She laughed and said, "I'm used to it." And that's the line that sends chills down my spine. Used to it. You see, stress doesn't need to hit you like a storm. It just needs to be there, every day, like rain softly tapping on your roof. One day, you realize the roof has been rotting all along without you noticing. So the big question is, how can we recognize stress is silently destroying our body, before it's too late? In the upcoming sections, I'll share with you the signs of chronic stress that most people over 50 ignore. Harmless habits that actually nurture stress every day. And most importantly, how to regain peace of mind and let your body naturally recover, without expensive medications. I'm not a doctor. But I'm someone who has lived through loss, someone who has woken up in the middle of the night feeling like I couldn't breathe, not knowing why. And I've learned how to overcome it, not just to live longer, but to live deeper. You don't have to accept that aging means anxiety, insomnia, or exhaustion. Because if you can recognize it early, you can change the course of things. And if you've ever thought, "I'm not stressed, I'm fine," then maybe, like my mother, you've gotten so used to stress that you don't even recognize it anymore. And that's the most dangerous part. In the next section, I'll tell you my own story, the moment I realized I was being destroyed by stress, even though I still seemed fine on the outside. I'll show you the subtle signals I missed, and the lesson I almost paid for with my health. You won't want to miss the next part. It might just surprise you, like it did for me. We don't age because of time. We age because of the things we never heal. And it's time to start healing from within. In the previous section, I shared Frank's story and what I learned about chronic stress, the silent killer that most of us overlook. But you might be wondering, so how can I recognize when stress is attacking me? This question made me think a lot. Because, just like I was, you might be in the I'm fine. State without realizing that your body is sending out urgent signals. And if you ignore these signs, one day you might wake up and realize it's too late. My own story is a perfect example. About a year ago, I started feeling strange. Everything didn't seem too bad, but I began feeling tired. Not the tiredness from work, but a very odd, unclear kind of tired. Sometimes, I'd wake up feeling like I had run a long distance, even though I had only watched TV the night before. Then the sleepless nights started. I couldn't stop thinking about everything in my life, family, finances, and the future. This led to constant insomnia. Muscle pains began to appear, mostly in my back and shoulders, areas I'd never felt pain before. But I still thought, it must be age. I didn't think about stress. I didn't know my body was signaling an emergency. One night I had a mild fever. No flu, no sore throat. Just a fever that I couldn't explain. When I saw the doctor, the answer I received was, "Your body is overworked. It could be due to prolonged stress." I was stunned. That's when I realized the signs of chronic stress can be very subtle, but extremely dangerous. Here are the signs I ignored before my body finally spoke up. 1. Unexplained fatigue. You might be eating right, sleeping enough, but still feel exhausted. Fatigue becomes a part of daily life, and you think it's normal as you age. But in reality, it could be a sign that chronic stress is silently attacking your body. 2. Non-restorative sleep. I wasn't getting enough rest. Even though I slept 7 to 8 hours a night, I still felt unrest. This led to a bad cycle. I was tired, and stress made my sleep even more difficult. A study has shown that prolonged stress can alter your sleep cycles, making it harder to wake up and feeling exhausted even after you've woken up. 3. Muscle and joint pain. Have you ever felt like your body ached for no specific reason? You think it's because of the weather change or age? But in reality, chronic stress can increase your body's inflammatory responses, leading to unexplained aches and pains. 4. Unusual weight gain or loss. Stress can cause your body to release excess cortisol, a hormone that helps your body cope with stress. However, if cortisol levels remain high in your body, it can lead to weight gain, especially around your belly. On the other hand, some people lose weight uncontrollably when under stress. You might not even realize that the anxiety and tension are affecting your body. 5. Mental fatigue and irritability. If you notice that you're becoming irritable, losing patience, or feeling anxious without any clear reason, it could be stress affecting your mind. Your nervous system is constantly running in fight or flight mode, which can lead to feelings of stress and anxiety. I ignored all these signs until my body couldn't take it anymore. And if you're like me, then maybe you're being silently destroyed by stress without even knowing it. So, how can we cope with stress? After a long period of research and trial and error, I've found some ways to reduce the impact of stress, and I'd like to share the tips that help me regain peace of mind. 1. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you focus on the present moment, reducing anxiety about the future or regret about the past. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, or simply taking a few minutes each day to focus on your breath can help calm your nervous system and lower cortisol levels in your body. 2. Exercise regularly. Exercise is not just about physical health, it also helps reduce stress and improve mood. Gentle exercises like walking, yoga, or swimming can calm the nervous system and help your body relax. 3. Establish relaxation habits. You might think rest is a luxury, but in reality, creating time for relaxation is very important. Whether it's reading a book, listening to calming music, or sitting in the garden, these quiet moments can help refresh your mind. But before I share more tips for stress reduction, I want you to remember that stress is not something you can avoid entirely. But you can learn how to cope with it, and recognize it when it appears. In the next section, I'll tell you the story of one of my closest friends, someone who learned how to cope with stress through simple habits, with truly surprising results. You won't want to miss this, because you might discover a solution you've never considered. Life isn't about fighting the big waves, it's about learning to dance in the midst of them. In the previous section, I shared the signs of chronic stress that we often overlook, things that seem insignificant, but can silently destroy your health. If you notice any of these symptoms, don't worry, you're not alone. And today, I want to share a special story, the story of my best friend, Linda. She's the one who helped me realize that overcoming stress isn't as far-fetched as it seems. Linda is a very positive person, always wearing a bright smile whenever I see her. But she's also very busy, juggling work, family, and never-ending responsibilities. I remember one day, when we met in the park, Linda said something to me that I'll never forget. "I don't recognize myself anymore. It feels like I'm living a life that's not my own." That statement made me reflect deeply. Linda has always been joyful, strong, and full of energy. But after years of working tirelessly and never taking time for herself, she had been consumed by stress. Linda didn't realize this until her body began reacting, much like mine did, with vague signs like insomnia, fatigue, and muscle aches. But she did something very important: she didn't ignore them. Linda's story is a perfect example of how, if you don't recognize and face stress, it will affect every part of your life. But more importantly, Linda made the decision to change, and that changed her life. Linda began with something very simple: taking care of herself. She rediscovered the joy in life and learned not to let work and responsibilities consume all her time. These changes weren't complicated, but they had a profound effect on both her mental and physical health. Lessons from Linda: 3 habits to effectively reduce stress. 1. Set time aside for yourself every day. Linda started spending 15 minutes every morning just relaxing. No phone, no work, simply sitting with a cup of coffee and thinking about the positive things in her life. She called this her warm-up time for the day and realized that when she had those quiet moments, the whole day felt much smoother. 2. Walking, not just for a healthy body, but for a relaxed mind. Linda began walking every day, even if it was only for 20 minutes. Not to lose weight, but to release stress. Every step she took in the park was an opportunity to breathe deeply, leave her worries behind, and feel peace. Gentle exercises like walking, yoga, or even meditation helped her not only improve her health but also quickly restore her mental balance. 3. Practice gratitude. Every evening before bed, Linda wrote down 3 things she was grateful for that day. It could be a fun conversation, a nice meal, or simply the time she spent for herself. This habit helped her shift her perspective on life. Linda shared with me that when she focused on the positive things, stress gradually decreased, and she began to feel lighter inside. I've learned so much from Linda. These habits are nothing complicated, but they're a remedy to reduce stress and restore balance in life. Honestly, if you're living in a state of constant stress, try applying these habits. You might not see immediate results, but after a while, you'll notice a significant difference. I used to ignore the signals my body was giving, but once I started changing and paying attention to my emotions and thoughts, I realized that the body has very clear ways of signaling when stress is affecting us. Sometimes, it's just a slight ache, a tired morning, or an anxious thought. But if you listen, you'll notice those signs before they become bigger problems. Life will never be completely easy, especially when you're over 50. But you can absolutely control the level of stress in your life. By paying attention to yourself, taking care of your health, and making small changes in your habits, you'll find that you can live much healthier and happier. So, are you ready to make a change? The way I overcame stress was through small changes in my life. And I believe that if you apply these changes, you'll feel the difference too. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't let stress become your silent killer. Life isn't just about existing. Life is about living healthy, living happily, and living meaningfully. And you can start right now. Thank you for watching this video. I hope my shares can help you realize that stress isn't something we can't control. We can absolutely master it and live a happier, healthier life. It's not how long you live, but how you live. Live a life that's not just about existing, but one that's healthy and full of energy. Before I end this video, I want to share something very important with you. something I've learned throughout this journey. That is, life may never be perfect, but we are the ones who decide how we live, especially when we face challenges in health and mental well-being as we grow older. I know that aging isn't always easy. When you hit your 50s, 60s, or even 70s, life might not be the same as before. You may have gone through difficult stages, loss, or even loneliness. But remember one thing, you're never too old to change. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, share it with your loved ones, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button. We can learn together, change together, and live healthier together. And I'll always be here, ready to share more stories and lessons with you.